Hi, my name is Akimana Ines Liliane, and my topic today is duties and responsibilities of night news editor, managing editor, and resident editor. Let's start with who is a night news editor. He is the editor who operates and works the whole night to get the morning newspaper, which means he is the one sitting in the office editing stories and so that we might get our morning newspaper. He's the one sitting, editing, and working out the stories that the morning newspaper will come well and well done. All copies passes through the hand of the night editor for the final supervision. That means he is the one to supervise and look upon the all final copies to see if it's well done, to see if there is things that has to be changed and all. We can see a picture showing a night news editor. So he mainly in this position of night news editor doesn't exist in small organization, but the editor is the one to remain in the office, to remain the whole night till the newspaper goes to press. So now let's go to the duties and responsibilities of the night news editor. First of all, the first and the biggest duty and the responsibility that a night news editor has is to remain until the newspaper goes to press. He cannot edit and just go home. He has to remain and wait till the newspaper goes to the press. That means till we readers get our newspaper in the morning. That's where he has to remain till the whole printing is done. Till the composition is done, till the final thing is done, where the delivery people come and pick all the newspaper. He should read and motivate the night news team. That means he is the one showing the night news team how they have to work, how they have to change things, how they have to coordinate, how they have to maintain the newspaper, or how they have to show up the stories and all. He should have a discriminating ability to set up questions. That means the night news editor has to be having an ability to show up or to mainly know which kind of news is good for the newspaper, which kind of news is good for the organization, which kind of news is better to be shown in the morning newspaper, which kind of news should be show up, or if it's hard news, how it has to be shown. If it's a soft news, on which paper it should be shown up. We cannot just see all the soft news on the front page and all the hard news on the second page or third page. That means he has to be having an ability to discriminate or to show up or to mainly emphasize on how the things should be done. Fourthly, he has to stand in the composing room to direct the makeup man what to do. That means the night news editor has to stand or has to be in the composing room when that composing thing is done to direct the command. The command might not know how the news should be dressed up, or how the news, like as we know we are using that yellow black colors and all. That means a makeup man might not know how that hard news has to come up, or which color it has to come up on the newspaper. That means a night news editor should be there to show him or to direct him or to lead him on how things should be done. He should check the grammar, the spelling, and sentence structures. That means he should check up which grammar should be used. We cannot, or the newspaper cannot just show up some spellings which are long, like mainly the names and all. We cannot just say a name of a person and just write it the wrong way. That means he should show up, he should check, and he should see which kind of structure sentences are, which kind of grammar should be used, which kind of spellings is great, or which kind of spellings is supposed to be used. He should have to format the story after editing it. That means he should put on a great format according to the story. If it's a hard news, it should be in a kind or in a different format. If it's a soft news, it should be in a different or another kind of format. That means he should know how to discriminate those stories. He should know how to format it, or he should know how to put in format in a way that which is proper, in a way that we attract readers, as every editor should be doing it. He to finish his work on the deadline to get the morning newspaper on time. That's mean the night news editor cannot edit till the morning, where the printing should be done, where the composing things should be done, with where other works after editing should be done. That's mean if the deadline of news or a night news editor has to be done, or for example, if the deadline is at 9, or let's just see at 3 in morning, that means the deadline is at 3 in the morning. That's he has to finish his work of editing at 3 in the morning, so that the morning newspaper should be on time. After the night news editor, let's now come up on the managing editor. Who is a managing editor? A managing editor is a senior member of publications management team. That means he is a senior member, or a senior, or he who is in charge of management team in a publication. In a newspaper, who is in charge of management team. In a magazine, who is in charge of management team, he is the one called a managing editor. He reports directly to the editor-in-chief. After correcting all information, he doesn't have to pass throughout other people, but he has to report directly to the editor-in-chief. He oversees all the aspects of the newspaper. That means he looks upon all the aspects of the newspaper. He has to look upon all the aspects of the newspaper. He has to know how the newspaper should be done. He has to show up, or he has to oversee, or he has to control and see all the newspaper. Let's now see the duties and responsibilities of a managing editor. He acts as a region between an editorial and the advertising aspect of the paper. That means he is the one in between the editorial and the advertising aspect of a newspaper. That means he is the one looking up, or just working with editorial, and even he is working with advertising. That means when we say management, that means he has to manage things in the company. He has to manage things in the editorial. He has to know how advertisement should be done in the newspaper. He has to know how the editing should be done in the newspaper. That means he is the one in charge of that. He prepares the agenda for the meeting. That means he is the one to prepare the agenda, how things should be done in a meeting, at what time meeting should start, at what time the meeting should end, at what kind of points the meeting should be discussed of. That means he has to prepare the agenda of the whole meeting. He enforces the paper's policy, procedures, and including deadline and style. He is the one in charge of putting up the policies and procedures that the team members should be following. He should also including the deadline and style. When you say deadline, that means a reporter has a deadline, an editor has a deadline. That's when the managing editor is the one to show up, or to put policies and procedures, even the deadline and styles, which kind of style you should be writing, which kind of style is good for the organization, which kind of style is good for this story. He is the one to emphasize it, or he is the one in charge of it. Also, he handles internal staff dispute. If there is some dispute in staffs, if there are some wrong dispute in the internal teams, he is the one to handle it. He is the one to know how to handle it. He is the one in charge of handling it, to see which kind of problem is there, which kind of solution should be given. He is the one to hires and promote staff members. He is the one to hires. He is the one in charge of hiring people. He is the one to fire people if there are wrong people doing the wrong things. If there are staff who are not working properly, he is the one in charge of firing them. If the staff member that should be hired, he is the one to hire them and to promote even them. He acts as the editor-in-chief in case of absence of that editor-in-chief, or that means that in the absence of an editor-in-chief, the managing editor is the one to act as an editor-in-chief. He monitors surprise in procedures and surprise cabinet. That means he is the one to monitor or to lead or to look upon the surprise which is done in production and even in cabinets. He also handles telephone and email inquiries. That means whatever comes on telephones or whatever comes in emails, he is the one to handle that. Even if there are letters or any kind of thing that comes through email, or if there are kind of phones and all telephone calls, that he is the one to handle that. He works on the payment of editors as well as pays for stories, ads, and photographs for staff members. That means he is the one to look upon how much or how which kind of payment the editor should have. If it's a senior editor or a sub editor or editor in chief or those kind of editors, how much they should get the payment. He is the one in charge of that. Also, the pay for stories. If this story should be that much, or ads or photograph or staff members, he is the one in charge of that payment things. He is in charge of staff trips, welcome weeks, and any other specific event that may come up. He is the one to in charge or look upon the staff trip. If there are trips that has to be organized, he is the one to organize it. That's when we say he is. That's mean the he we are talking about is a managing editor. The managing editor is the one in charge of staff trip, welcome weekend, or any other kind of specific event, any kind of event that has to come up, or any kind of event that comes up. He is the one in charge of that. Let's now look upon a resident editor. Who is a resident editor? In some large paper or organization, they have multiple edition in different cities. That means they have multiple edition in different cities. They might be Bangalore or Kolkata or somewhere, Delhi, somewhere like that. The respective editor of every and certain that specific city is called resident editor. The one in the respective editor or the respective editor of that specific city. If we say Bangalore, that should be the name of that editor should be the resident editor. He is an editor who performs the function of an editor of a newspaper at a center other than one from which the newspaper was ordinarily published. That means if the original publication of the newspaper is in Bangalore, then the resident editor might be in Delhi. Let's now look upon his duties and responsibilities. He is responsible for the selection and publication of news and views. That means a resident editor is responsible to select and how the publication should be done of any kind of news or information and even views. He implements the newspaper policy. He is the one to implement the policies that is or the policies of an organization. He has to coordinate and interact with other different departments. When we say departments, we have seen administrative departments and other department, editorial and all. He is the one to coordinate and interact. He is the one to know what's going on a different department. He is the one to interact and know what can be done and all. He has to supervise activities of a publication of a news. He has to supervise. That means if a publication is going on of a news, he has to be there to see how things is done, how things should be done, if it's correctly done, and though he has to supervise the activities of a publication. And he is responsible of all material being published in the newspaper or a magazine. That means he is responsible everything that is published in a newspaper and even in a magazine. That means if there are wrong information or if they can sue an editor, then any kind of editor or let's see a reporter, that's also the editor should be sued also, because he is the one responsible of all material being published in a newspaper and a magazine. He has to look on important editorial matters. That means he has to look on important or any kind of matters that is in the auditorium. If there are matters or issues that is in the auditorium, he has to look upon that. He has to check and see and oversees that That's all for today. Thank you. And if there are any kind of questions, you can just ask. Thank you.